everybody to join us for the Lord's Prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 2.1, approve minutes of the January 20th, 2022 regular meeting at 9 a.m.
I'll motion.
I'll second with a minor adjustment. Jackie, on the very bottom where it has comments and business, the comment right above Drake, where it says Provant, I believe was me also, about performance pay.
Both names.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3.1, approve the proposed amendments to the agenda, and there are 8.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public comment on items on the agenda. Seeing none. Item, the consent agenda, so there are 13 items. Does anybody need to pull anything, or can somebody make a motion for 514?
I want to pull 5-3, 5-7, 5-12.
I'm sorry?
5-12.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, I need to pull 5-2.
Okay.
So would you read that out, the list?
It's 5-2, 5-3, 5-7, and 5-12. Anybody else? Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda excluding 2, 3, 7, and 12.
I motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Who was the second?
It doesn't matter, Gina or myself.
Thank you. Okay, let's see, Crystal, 5.2.
Okay, I just wanted to double check. I reached out to the media specialists today and asked if they received it because I didn't think they had, but they're not sure if they did or not. So I just wanted to ask if somebody would double check and if we need to add media specialists or if we need to change the wording to include any certified teacher who didn't receive it possibly. Because I know I didn't get it as a media specialist, so I just want to make sure they get it as well. Because they do teach classes and have students.
I will look into that.
Thank you.
Okay, I said 5-3, but I was okay with 5-3.
Wait, we need to make a motion and vote on 5.2. Crystal?
So I move to approve the pay assistance to principals, counselors, academic coaches, or any other certified teacher on staff that did not originally receive the governor's $1,000 bonus issued in 2021.
Second.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
5.3, Ms. Gloria?
Okay, that was one I pulled that I didn't need to pull.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm okay with that one.
Okay, so let's make a motion and vote on it then.
I motion.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
5.7, is that yours, next one?
That's the one I wanted.
Okay. Go ahead.
My question was, what does she do and how many children does she feed? Because we're going to increase her pay. I wanted to know how many, how much we're going to increase it to and how many kids does she pay? Does she serve?
What is the justification for changing it, I
guess that's.
That's what I'm asking about.
She was working 2 different positions, one as a food service worker and I believe the other as a sub.
Mm-hmm.
And so, having her go from 4 to 6 hours will have her, it's actually saving the district money where she can work at the same hourly rate the entire time.
Okay, all right, that was my question.
So it's really increase of hours, not,
No, it's not, but
it's
it
due to
looks
the increase of
correct.
hour, okay.
Okay, anybody else will need a motion?
I make a motion to approve the additional daily hours for Dawn Stone, food service worker at Moorhaven Elementary School, from 4 hours to 6 hours daily, effective February 11th, 2022.
Second.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
512, Miss Gloria.
Okay, let me find it so I can get it all in this mind. It's 512. Truancy officer. Now, I just didn't think we needed one at the time. And I just wanted to say that, because I don't think you can make children go to school very much anymore unless their parents want them to go. And I'm not in favor of adding any more people to the payroll until we see how we do. That was my only question, because nobody knows what the next year holds. Nobody knows. And I just want to keep it as, pay the people that we already got, instead of creating a new position that would cause us to pay out more money. And if we was gonna leave anything, I think it would be the truancy officer. But I guess somebody gonna tell me more about it than I know. So come right on. Come on. Okay. Me and Mr. Brakefield talked to you today.
First of all, in ESSER 2, there were 5 distinct pots of money. We got the original lump sum, and we pretty much got that taken care of. The other 4 you have to keep separate. Okay, one of them is for non-enrollment assistance.
Okay.
That is where we're getting some of the funding for this position. Then we wrote it in to the grant in ESSER 3. No money's going to come out of the general fund for this for 3 years. It's all completely grant funded. At the end of 3 years, if there's no grants funds there, then the position would necessarily dry up.
Okay.
But I understand what you're saying. Pay the people we got. No one's taking anything away from that.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
All right, that's what I wanted to know.
I have a question.
Sure.
If students are not coming to school, doesn't that affect what we receive if they're absent? So
Yes.
that's gonna pay for it as well.
Yeah, it should generate more FTE by
Correct.
having more kids here during those weeks.
Exactly.
And I think that's a great thing.
Okay.
I think it's a great thing if it works.
Okay.
Okay, so at this point, we're being asked to approve a job description and a salary schedule. At some point, before we advertise this, we need to approve a position. Because the job description and the salary schedule doesn't necessarily create a position.
I understand.
I think we've already advertised
Yeah,
for
we have
this.
advertised.
Well,
But has the board approved a position?
it's in the
It's already-
positions that were done by Copeland, yes.
I
In
think
that
we,
book,
I
it's an
think we
established
did.
position.
But what we ask, but
There's a
The
difference
application.
between a job description and a position. We have a job description for a teacher, but we don't just hire teachers anytime we want to. We have to approve a position for a certain number of teachers. And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember approving a position for a truancy officer. I think that has to come before the board.
I'll be honest with you, I never knew that it wasn't on our budget and that when did we last have one?
It's been years.
It's been a little bit.
Nana Turner was the last truancy
Tina
officer
was
we
the
had.
truancy officer.
Last good one we had.
Ms. Turner.
Miss Turner was it. Was the last truancy
Well,
officer.
then a lot of, then maybe some teachers in different positions go and get, especially the Hispanic kids. Okay.
But I don't think that what Ms. Pearl was talking about. Say what you said again, Ms. Pearl, so I have it clear.
If we approve this tonight, we're approving the job description for a truancy officer, and we're approving a salary schedule. We are not necessarily approving a position. You can have a job description and a salary schedule adopted, but not have a position. At some point, it has to come before the board that we approve a position for a truancy officer, and then it would be advertised and hire someone.
Yeah, and I think that our, the grants, the writing of the grants, I think is when we need to be put in that loop as to this is how I'm gonna write it, this is what I'm gonna ask for. Would you guys, bring it to us? And because I agree with what she's saying. We've not been involved in the grants, to my satisfaction.
Okay.
And so if you could, give us more information on what you are writing in them and what you were denied, what they wanted, what they made you take out. I mean, we've
Understand.
never really received those kinds of details.
I understand completely, and I appreciate that. I did, when I spoke before you in December, I did break down everything we were paying for in each grant.
Yes, you did.
So everything was in there. Granted, that was a lot of information in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
But I will make it a point to do better to inform you all of what.
Was this position in there?
Yes, ma'am.
It was?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Because I thought that we had talked about this position. I knew we advertised for it, but I also hear what Jean's saying. I think we may have not done it appropriately at that time. We might not have gone through the steps.
So have we advertised the position and had applicants apply?
I believe it's been advertised, and I do not know about applicants.
And that was quite a while back. That was 6 months ago or so that we were advertising for it. I know because someone called me about it.
I don't have a problem with it, and I'm thrilled that we can pay for it with a grant. When the grant runs out, if we don't have the money in our budget, then it goes away. And I'm new on the board, so I may be overstepping my bounds here, but we need to make sure we do things in the proper order. And I think, I don't think we should advertise a position before we have a job description for it, first of all, and I don't think a position should be advertised before the board approves that position. I don't know where we go from here, but.
Well,
I think we need to vote.
Well, I don't know, somebody maybe needs to check to see, I mean, if we're gonna, I don't know. What's the pleasure of the
I'll
board?
make the motion to approve the revised truancy officer job description and salary schedule. But I would like to say, please, let that person know this is grant funded, advertise it as grant funded.
Right.
So that they're aware when they take this position, this is not a permanent
Right.
position.
And
I'll second.
if we haven't already approved the position, obviously that needs to be done.
Okay, so I'm gonna second Crystal's motion, and we can vote on the job description and the salary schedule, and then decide what to do about the other.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 5.13, approval to separate the current combined secretary bookkeeper position at Westlake School into two positions. Oh, that's
No.
right. See, I told you it wasn't on my A game today.
That's okay. You're just
Okay,
gonna approve the
okay,
consent.
we already did that.
Did that too.
Okay, 6.1, approval of travel expenses to FEFPA conference March 2nd through 4th, 2022. That is for Gresseth and Brown.
I move to approve the travel expenses to FEFPA conference, March 2 through 4, 2022.
Second, or, sorry.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
6.2, approval of amendment 5 to subcontract QG 223-21 between Central Florida Behavioral Health Network Incorporated and Glades County School District.
Make a motion to approve the Amendment 5 to the subcontract between Central Florida Behavioral Health Network and Glades County School District.
I'll second.
I have a question.
Okay,
Could somebody talk to us about that?
Ms. Schillinger?
Central Florida Behavioral Health is like our Medicaid for our mental health people. Jay Reed actually manages and handles all of the Central Florida Behavioral Health documentation and support. It's like a grant type thing, and they can bill up to $100,000. So all the therapies and services that they're providing, they bill it through Central Florida Behavioral Health. So it's kind of like the Medicaid side of the mental health. From my understanding, originally, when we were not billing for Medicaid, we went with Central Florida Behavioral Health so that we could reap back some of that money. However, later, I guess, when I talk about Medicaid, we'll come back to talk about how we can make the two programs work together so that we're able to benefit our maximum amount of money on both sides.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
7.1, accept resignation of Shyla Timms, bookkeeper at Moorhaven Middle High School, effective January 28th, 2022.
It is with great sorrow that I make a motion to accept the resignation of Shyla Timms, bookkeeper at Moorhaven Middle High School, effective January 28th.
I guess I'll second.
Any other questions or comments?
If we all vote no, can we keep her?
I think it's too late. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 7.2, accept resignation of Laurie Leach as guest teacher effective February 4th, 2022.
I motion.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
7.3, approval to transfer Corey Lyle from school secretary to data entry specialist at Moorhaven Middle High School effective January 24th, 2022.
I make a motion to transfer Corey Law from school secretary to data entry specialist at Moorhaven Middle High School, effective January 24th.
I'll second with a question.
I
Okay,
have questions.
go ahead.
I'm just wondering what's the need, what's going on there?
So Mrs. Lyle is replacing one of the other ladies that resigned as well.
Oh, okay.
But who's gonna replace her?
So it's coming up.
Okay.
Okay, so were these positions advertised? And is that, I mean, I know we're transferring from one position to another, but according to the GCTA contract, I think the position should have been advertised, and I don't know whether it was or
I'm
not.
pretty sure it was advertised. I think it was.
I think that is still the superintendent's call on some of these things.
I'm sorry, so,
Whenever whenever she feels the need, the district has the need, she's able to do that. We don't have to.
okay.
Advertise that.
I thought the
If
contract
we
said
have a
that.
new position and we're opening it up, and that's different. But positions that exist already, and if somebody wants to move to it, they can even come and request it.
Well, my point is, and I have nothing against Mrs. Lyle taking this position. My point is, there might have been other people at Moorhaven Middle High School who also wanted to move into that position. Was it advertised and those people given an opportunity to express to Dr. Daly that they would like to move in, and then he picks the best one?
Yeah, because I thought that's who picked them. I thought get me straight now, so I'll be floating the ship right. when somebody quit at the high school, the principal has the right to hire them. Am I good with that? Now, you hire these people, right? That's right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's all I want to know, okay?
And we create the positions.
Yes.
We approve the positions.
Right.
They create them, but
Right.
when they bring them to us,
And then we
Correct.
approve it.
that's right. Now, that's,
But I'm just gonna say it one more time. I think we should advertise those positions that come up, because, like I said, there might be somebody else at that school who would like to move into that position. And they weren't given the opportunity to express that they wanted it.
Right. I know in the teacher contract, the instructional contract, that is in there, that they do have to be, advertised. I'm not sure about our non-instructional. But we could certainly, I think we need to make sure we follow whatever's in the contract.
And of course, Dr. Daly has the right to pick the one that he wants for the position, but everybody should be given an opportunity to apply.
Okay.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
7.4, approval to accept rescinding of resignation from Catherine Lavala to remain as a teacher at Moorhaven Middle High School.
I'll move to approve. To
Second.
accept. But I do have a question. What happened there?
She rescinded her
She
resignation.
just changed her mind?
It's a good thing.
She has, upon reflection, decided that Moorhaven Middle High School is the place for me to continue my teaching career.
Good.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
7.5, approval to approve to transfer Daisy Alarcon from ELL paraprofessional to school secretary at Moorhaven Middle High School effective January 24th.
That's the one that opens up.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of Daisy Alacon from ELL paraprofessional to school secretary at Moorhaven Middle High School effective January 24th.
I'll second the motion.
Any
Okay, so,
questions?
yes, so she's moving into the position that Mrs. Lyle,
Yes,
I thought Mrs. Lyle was a
ma'am.
receptionist.
It is, but it's titled school secretary because of the job descriptions haven't been updated.
well, I have a
So is she
question.
being paid on the salary schedule that we approved for receptionist?
No,
Data entry specialist. Corey Lyle says data entry specialist.
I know, but Daisy Alacon is
Oh.
moving into
The school
Corey
secretary.
Lyle's position.
because I don't think the receptionist, I don't think we've approved, we have that, but we don't have
Right,
the.
it hasn't, the position hasn't been approved yet.
Correct.
So that's why there's school, the people
That's
that
where
are
they're
in
still
front are
titled
school secretaries.
That's one of those ones we have to go back, that there never was a job description, and we created, I mean, we
And it was
talked about it.
approved, they just didn't approve the position.
But this is gonna,
that.
this is gonna be a salary issue though, because those are two different salaries, right? Receptionist and secretary.
Mhm.
So she's moving into the position of the receptionist, but she's gonna be paid as a secretary and officially called a
Miss
secretary.
Lyle was the school secretary too, she wasn't a receptionist either, because the board has never approved the position for a receptionist, so the schools each have a school secretary.
So are we
So,
creating,
I'm confused.
Me too.
What did we go back and pay her retro for?
Miss Lyle, for school secretary from, because she was a para.
And the same thing for Mrs. Chapman over here? She's officially a secretary?
No, she's a district receptionist, because that.
We did approve
Yeah, we
that.
did approve
the
that.
district receptionist, but you've not approved the school receptionist. The description is approved, but you haven't
That's
approved the
something we need to
position.
do, like a
I'll
workshop.
tell you what, I'm totally confused.
you are not the only one.
And does she do secretarial duties as well as receptionists? I mean, normally
Yes, absolutely.
they do.
And I think that when we go to workshop, that is something that I can bring. I mean, I know we've got the ones that we're still using this for Copeland, which are outdated, but it's more than just writing
I
a
thought
few
we changed
sentences. I mean, it's
everything.
we have to make sure that it goes through GCT, or the teachers union, all that.
I thought we had changed.
So I
everyone
guess
from
my comment,
receptionist.
I'm sorry, Patty.
I thought we had fixed the receptionist problem. I thought everyone had secretary duties.
Well, they
And we
are,
changed
but
the
we don't
title
have,
as well.
we don't have a job description that's a receptionist. That needs to go, that will need to come to you all.
But if she's doing secretarial duties as
They
well,
should be secretaries.
then I'm okay
Yeah.
with it as it is.
And I'll just make the same comment, I think that position should have been advertised. Yeah.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
7.6, approval to the increases in hourly rates for Michael McKinley, attorney in the law firm of Shoemaker, Kendrick, and Loop LLC, effective March 1st, 2022.
So moved.
Any second?
What are the increases?
I believe it's.
What, it's 180 and?
Yeah, his old hourly rate is $180 an hour. The new hourly is $240 an hour, unless, I believe there's something in there. Mr. McKinley, do you want to speak to that about, what that covers?
Because it also says new hourly
Microphone
rate.
on, there we go.
That's for litigation.
Also, from time to time, the
Thank you.
board will probably also need specialized attorneys, beyond the scope of things that we've had the last few years. And, in my firm, even for public entities, that goes up to $325. So your day-to-day things that I do would be billed at the rate of
That's what
$240.
he's talking about now, those specialized things.
Okay, now that's when, I got a question, is that when you're here, or that's just, I wanna know how it works. How do you work?
I
8 to
don't
5,
like
or 5 to 8, or what?
Which is both the time that I'm here and the time that I'm in my office working on your data.
Okay,
What about
So
that?
we're increasing the hourly rate for normal school board work from $180 per hour to $240 per hour.
That's right.
Mr. McKinley, can you tell us the last time that you had an increase in salary?
I don't think that had one since
I know, I just
I could
wanted
be
to,
wrong, but I don't
I wanted
think I've
to,
increased in that year.
I wanted to confirm that. I knew that you hadn't. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure that,
Mr. McKinley, I feel that the Bible says a workman is worthy of his hire. I just wanna know what you do.
yeah, that's a good one. I review the stuff that comes from it, and I answer a lot of questions, give a lot of guidance, day to day to the administration. There are an amazing number of questions come through. The school code, you'll probably take a look at that book, it's a couple of things, it's like reading the phone book in some areas. All the agreements and things like that. I work with special counsel if we have litigation, which thank goodness we haven't had very much of in the last few years. I was pretty busy with the construction of the high school.
Oh, okay.
That was quite a bit of legal work. I try to keep you out of trouble. So,
That's a hard thing.
unless it's brought myself better, you know?
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Anybody else? We need a second.
I'll second.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. 7.7, approval to change the Glades County School Board regular meeting from March 3rd, 2022 at 9 to March 10th at 2022 at 9.
March 10th. Let's see.
I make a motion to approve the change the school board meeting from March 3rd to March 10th at 9 a.m.
I'll second.
Any other questions?
I don't have my calendar with me, and I think I might have a doctor's appointment that day with pain management, so I won't be able to attend if that's so, but I'll reconfirm it.
March 3rd was Chalanika, so we figured. And West Glades and Moorhaven Elementary both have activities planned that they wanted the board to be at, so.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
7.8, approval to cancel Glades County School Board regular meeting on June the 9th, 2022 at 9.
Which would make us only have one meeting.
I make a motion to approve canceling the school board meeting that's scheduled for June 9th at 9 a.m.
I'll second, but I still have questions.
We're canceling it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Patty,
So there is a second one that's already,
there's another meeting in
There's another
June.
conference.
Yeah.
all
Okay.
right, thank you.
Any other questions?
That's the date of the FSBA
Yeah,
conference.
the
Yeah.
conference is that week.
Any other questions?
No.
All in favor? General public comments. Jackie, do you have any comment cards?
No, ma'am.
Board member comments and business, and this board member needs to take like a 2-minute bathroom break. We can
Okay.
adjourn for a minute, please.
Okay.
Mostly it will be at that joint conference.
We're
Yeah,
not
me
supposed to have
doing
to
the
do-
calendar for meetings and not knowing anything about Chalanika, I should
For that.
do the calendar.
Okay, that's right. 'Cause it-
Change what? Oh, that's good.
Okay.
Please don't.
Well, you can do that.
No, we're getting ready to do,
9-1,
9-1.
9-1.
You wanna go first?
He's not a, yep.
Okay.
You're welcome to, go
I'm
ahead.
down there.
You need the exercise? Yeah,
He
exactly.
wants more than all of us put together. I tried to work on that. I had a job, it was ridiculous. His legs are twice as long as mine. I'm literally, I'm like, dude, your legs are longer than mine.
I printed mine out if it hasn't changed.
No, she's, cause his computer's working, she's filling out.
I,
Okay, call meeting back to order. Board member comments?
Well, I have a few. I'll go ahead and start. First of all, I want to report back about our meeting in Tallahassee. It was awesome. We had a great time. We had a personal tour of FAMU by one of our former graduates, Nicole Reese. That was really the highlight of the trip for some of us. The food was fabulous, and it was very, very uplifting for us to see her being so successful. We also were able to visit with Senator Albritton, who verified for us that the new maps are going to draw him out of our district. He told us who he was already endorsing. Her name is Representative Erin Grawl, and we were able to actually get a last-minute appointment with her as well. And we also met with Representative Tuck. We told all three of them that we were planning to build a new school and that we would be seeking appropriations. Representative Tuck gave me permission to give Mr. Aggressive her cell phone number, and she said, be sure we get the appropriation request in early, because, you know, they have really strict timelines. So they were very supportive, all three of them. And so anyway, that was great. We had a really good, I felt like a productive time.
and I would like to second that. It was my first time being a part of that trip, and I enjoyed it. Enjoyed spending time with Mrs. Drake and Mrs. Reese, and spending time with a former student who has done quite well. She is the budget director at FAMU. She told us that even the president of the college submits his budget to her. So that's pretty impressive for one of our little old Moorhaven kids that I taught math. That I taught math to. But she, you know, I'm thinking back to having Nicole in class, and she said twice when we were talking about the math, she said, but I still don't know what an isosceles triangle is. Geometry was not her cup of tea. So,
But she did remember what you drank every day.
oh yeah, she gave me a play-by-play of
She did a good
what kind
impersonation.
of teacher I was and where I stood and what I drank and, you know, the whole 9 yards. It was,
Diet Coke?
no, it was Tab
Tab.
back then.
Oh.
That was
You
a
had
long
come up
time
in the
ago.
world.
I've come up in the world. But that was an awesome trip. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Crystal.
No,
I just
no,
wanted to
that
ask.
was great. I have a couple of things, I'm trying to figure out the order to bring them up in. The one thing I want to bring up is the Contentment Foundation issue. I had another person approach me with issues about that. I spoke with Ms. Schillinger tonight before the meeting started, and, you know, told her that I was gonna call Ms. Garcia Heck to just try to find out, you know, how they acquired it, how it got to us, just a few more details. I still have to make a reconnection with the person that contacted me. But I feel like there's such a negative connotation with that particular curriculum that even though we're only doing the one pillar that the teachers are all fine with, from what I was told, everybody, there's 7 or 8 kids opting out at West Glades. That's all that Ms. Reed was aware of. And I just feel like in the next year or in the future that whenever we're gonna have any curriculum that could be controversial, that we run it through our parent advisory committees and let them take a look at it, you know, or some sort of process where we can maybe head these things off, because this has taken so much time. I know personally, I've called Ms. Reed 3 times and she's had to explain it to me. So, you know, there's so much controversy out there right now about curriculum and about what's being taught. It's just a very touchy subject. I'm facing it at my school right now where I'm at. And I just want to see us get something that everybody's happy with. And that may not be possible. But anyway, I just wanted to say that. I am going to ask Ms. Schillinger to give me a quick Medicaid update. But before I go there, the big topic that I wanted to bring up to the board is the Guardian program for our schools. We had an event, you all know, at our high school that, as board members, we've called it a miracle.
Yes, we
That the
did.
way it all happened and everything that transpired that day. But I did receive a call from someone, and I remember when I first got on the board, I brought up the Guardian program, and the superintendent was against it. Deputy Watts, I don't believe, was for it at the time. No one on the board seemed to be for it, and so, you know, I was basically outvoted. We didn't even vote. It was pretty much, they didn't even want to talk about it. But I just feel that it's incumbent upon us to at least have a discussion about it in light of what's happened. Because I don't want, I sent Dr. Barfield a picture of the sign that's at my school, because I think it's 45 out of 67 counties have it. Don't quote me on that, I could be wrong, but I think that's what it was. But, and basically, if you're not familiar, what it means is there are armed people on campus with concealed weapons. So I would like to invite Sheriff Harden to come in and give a presentation to the board, and Deputy Watts to give us his take on it. And I would highly value Deputy Watts' opinion, since he's been there for several years and knows the climate of the high school campus specifically. I just want to make sure that we do everything that we can do within our power to keep our kids safe. And I'm looking for the sign. I wanted to read it to you because what did you say about it, Dr. Barfield, when I sent it to you? It was,
I've got it.
okay, I got it too after all the, okay, this is what it says. In big red letters, it says, warning, staff may be armed and will use whatever force is necessary to protect our students. So, you know, they say, there's been articles written that even schools that have this posted and use this program, that their incidence of violence is down. And I admit, when I first walked on the middle school campus and saw that, I was like, whoa. And, you know, it's a very, it wakes you up when you read that and you realize, oh, there's people walking around here, you know. So anyway, I just would like to put that on the agenda for the next meeting so that we can have presentations hopefully, or if you want to address it now.
I can't speak for Sheriff Harden if he's for this or against this, but this is something that we can talk about.
Okay.
See where we can go.
Okay.
I was wondering if we could have those signs posted.
Anyway, yeah, I thought that too.
And so what is the, can we find out?
Can you post them?
Maybe Mr. McKinley can tell us if we could post those. They says May.
I don't think you're supposed to do that.
Thank
As a
you.
guardian school, and you've got personnel that have gone through, it's pretty intensive training. And it's aimed at people with a military or a law enforcement background. So it's not like putting up the pretend burglar alarm, you know, or one of those. You gotta check all boxes.
Okay, I was just wondering if it was illegal to, being that it said May.
And Mr. McKinley, I'd like for you to weigh in at the next meeting on your take on that as well, if you don't mind.
It will be my privilege.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of liability that goes with that.
Crystal?
And then, yes, and then my last thing is I was gonna ask Ms. Schillinger for a Medicaid update. Because she loves to give me Medicaid updates.
Well, we're happy about this one.
Yeah.
Good, yay.
And we don't have any rocks, so.
Okay, I had to bring a book this time. Okay. No, so you will be happy to know that yesterday we submitted to ACA our approved NPI, National Provider Identifiers numbers, which was the last part of our re-enrollment. So we have completed from start to finish the enrollment process with ACA, and I am just awaiting for them to give us our passwords and usernames so that we can roll those over to Civic Solutions. I've also looked pretty in-depthly at the contract from Civic Solution that was signed. It was a 3-year contract until 2023. There were 2 parts to the contract. One was the information system in which they provide, known as Max Capture, and that's where all of our providers log all of their information. I can pull reports from it. It's coded through to all the Medicaid type pieces, and they then prepare and submit on our behalf for that. The other piece to the contract is what our responsibility as a district is. And one of those responsibilities is that we follow all of ACA's rules, and that we re-enrolled Medicaid, that we also check all of the claims that have been submitted. So there's a portion on our side that we have to go and look at the IEPs, and if we're billing for, let's say, 60 minutes of speech therapy for a student, well then when I go and look on the IEP, it should match. And so that falls on our responsibility as a school district to check that and look at it. It also falls on our responsibility as a district to ensure that we've received parent permission and consent for us to bill Medicaid. It also is our responsibility as a district to make sure that what was submitted for fees for service, which is what our providers do, that if there's any errors in that we have checked that and we've looked at it. So the fact that we didn't know that our claims were going through falls on us as a district. However, with that being said, I did have a very frank conversation with Civic Solutions, and kind of explained to them, like, look, you know, we entered into a contract with you without even being re-enrolled, and kind of really not understanding the whole Medicaid process. And is there anything that you can do that would, you know, help the district kind of recuperate some of that money, some of that time or whatnot? Chris Patton, who is our manager for that, is going back to his boss and having some conversations. So I hope to hear back from them soon to see if there's anything that they're willing to do, whether they'll, you know, discount the next couple of months, if there's anything that we can recuperate or anything of that nature. Also, with that being said, so we did, if you remember, we did submit SDAC, which is our school district administrative claiming. So that's like all of our direct fees that we, as administrative level, are doing. We submitted that. That's kind of really where the bread and butter is once we get into billing for Medicaid. We could get up to 20% of salaries and benefits and things back. However, when we submitted those two claims, we would have, just from April to June and July and August, we would have gotten about $16,000 for those two times. But because we weren't billing for fees for service, which is the provider part, we have to have 5 pieces. One being therapy, so our speech therapy, one being behavioral, one being nursing. And then there's other pieces there. But because we didn't have that, what they call a big 5, we didn't get the full 20% and 16%. However, we did get a check cut for about $1,900. Yay! But that was because we didn't have those big 5. So if we had those big 5s, we would be there. The other piece, just to let you know, ACA did share with me that even though they had, Civic Solution did send all the information, the claimable pieces and whatnot, from early on in 2020, I believe. We cannot bill for fees for service. They did agree to go back to the day in which we started the re-enrollment application. So that date certain is October 28th of 2021. So we did lose out on some money. Good news is that there wasn't a whole lot being recorded because there was COVID going on, so not too bad. But we are able to move forward from here. So Civic Solution will start to bill our fees for service, and we'll continue to bill for our SDAC, and we should be getting somewhere in the range, as we can like kind of guess, between $20,000 to $30,000. So that's kind of where we are.
For what time period?
Quarterly.
Okay.
Quarterly. So we can go back to the beginning, we can go all the way back to October 20th of 21 and bill from there for fees for
October to
service.
December, and then January to March, and.
Correct.
And I know that Ms. Schillinger is taking this very personal because she said she knows that you all are asking. So it's even tied to her social security
I was just
number.
getting ready to ask
So
that.
I was wondering if you could try to find a way to get it out, just because it's not fair to you. I mean, she did what she could because she's trying to help the district, but that's not fair to you.
I was gonna say it just like as a joke, because I knew that you had found numbers to replace your social security number.
No. So we had some lengthy conversations with ACA about that, because even when I was doing the numbers for our MPI, for our national provider indicators, I was like, am I using still my information or the district's information? And they shared with me that it's the only time that they needed my information for that social security number was just to tie it to somebody at the district office who has a paycheck that comes from the district office, so that when we call, we can verify and they know that it is myself. Dawn is listed on the account, as well as our finance director. Dr. Barfield is listed as our superintendent, and I'm on there as well. So, yes, they have my social security number, and there's a check that comes to me from that. But they've assured me that is as far as it goes. It was just for re-enrollment. Everything else is under the district's name, and the district has copies of everything, so.
Is that something that you would maybe want Mr. McKinley to look at for you, to be sure?
No, I'm pretty confident from talking with, I did go to the Medicaid conference the last time I wasn't here, and I did speak with several others, and they kind of assured me that it's never been an issue or a problem, and so I feel confident that it was there. I think it's kind of a silly thing, I get it, but you know, the fact that that was the one thing that was holding us up from completing an application is kind of the disheartening part, because we missed out on
Well, thank you.
So.
Again, I still don't think it's right, but thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate your help. Thank you very much.
So hopefully our next time we'll know our fees for service and stuff that's
We
going on
spent
there.
2 hours yesterday with Civic Solutions and went through the whole thing and cross-trained each other, so it's gonna be a lot easier.
And our codes that we are using everything's gonna match, it's just gonna be an easy thing. Okay, good.
And I think I started to tell you a little bit earlier. So I think that we found a way too that we can continue to hold on to Central Florida Behavioral Health, but we do need to have one billed for Medicaid in order for us to reap the Fab 5, if you want to call it. I feel like I'm teaching reading, the Fab 5. But the 5 for Medicaid. And so what we kind of discussed, and a preliminary plan, is that our mental health counselors, when they have a referral and have accepted that child and they're on their caseload, they will continue to bill through Central Florida Behavioral Health, who bills a little bit more for their services, so they get a little bit more money for it. But for any student that they do a threat assessment for, if they're sitting in on an IEP meeting and doing consultative work or anything like that, that they will enter into max capture, and that will give us our one occurrence that we have for us to be able to bill for that Fab 5, to get that higher percentage.
So all 5 of those things are in,
Yes, the
you know,
intervention and
those
the
are-
intervention
okay.
and all
You
that
have it
stuff.
now.
She specifically asked
okay,
if we could use that, and they said yes, absolutely.
okay.
The only piece that we're a little bit working on, I think will be okay. We do have one nurse that is our school nurse that we currently have. And so we need to talk with her to talk about if there's a plan of care that she's doing so that she can also enter that fee for service, because that would be our one. The other way Civic Solution has shared with us that we could go about that is if we have a contract between the health department and us that says that the health department provides all of our plan of care and services for our students and is billing Medicaid through them, then that will waive us from having to have a nursing one in that part of that 5.
Currently, we only pay for one school nurse, the health department pays for the other 2.
Okay. Good deal.
So
So the
we
one
haven't,
we pay
we
for is
reached
the
out to
high school.
Don Long to see if maybe there was a contract at one time. It may be something that we need to move forward to develop a contract, but we still have a little second of a time to be able to work that one out.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Good job, good work. So I did have one more thing.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I did speak with Ms. Cosby, and I talked with Dr. Barfield about that. There was some issue about her termination pay. I was just gonna ask Dawn or you to kind of go over it so that everybody's plain. I think I finally get it, but I don't wanna try to explain it. So Dawn, would you mind, or Dr. Barfield?
I don't mind at all, but I would actually ask Jennifer Carroll to speak on
Okay.
that matter, because that's, once I confirm it,
Okay.
that's who I go to double confirm it, because I like to triple check, I'm not giving out inaccurate
Okay.
information.
That's
So
fine.
is that all right with you?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. Did you hear us, Carol?
Yes, good evening, board, thank you. Are you getting feedback? I am.
No, ma'am.
No, you're good.
You're good, okay. yeah, the question came up is that the board approved retroactively raises for your administrators in November, I believe. They haven't been processed yet. So the question comes up, if somebody leaves between the time the board approves them and they're actually processed, do they get the raise or not? Historically, the answer has been no. And so that was our answer to Ms. Crosby. Several things I've discussed with the superintendent we'll be bringing to you later is clarifying some of these things in your policy so that there is no question that, you know, we don't say when they'll get put in the checks, because that's has to do with timing. Payroll in November and December in a school district are crazy because of the holidays, they're backed up. So historically, both in your district and in many other districts, they don't get processed until like the end of February. They are retroactive, they follow the board's direction, but it comes to the, are they given to people who are no longer here? If you had to go back and try to hunt down people who used to work here that may have left in July, August, September, October, it would be a complete nightmare. So the way it's always been handled and our answer in this instance was, you have to be here when they're given out.
Yeah, most governmental agencies always specify active employees at that time.
Okay.
I wouldn't see it that way.
No, ours was not, that's why she said the policy needs to be revised at the time we do budgets, depending on what the board decides.
But for now.
That's what's been done, but we would like to clarify it in writing just so that if it comes up again, we have clear direction to follow.
So you're saying, Carol, the precedent has been set in our
Yes, ma'am.
district. You've looked back at other people who have left in this unique
Yes, ma'am.
situation, and this is how it was handled in the past.
Yes, ma'am.
The termination form that had the inaccurate, payout for vacation pay, Dawn and I spoke about that. That is no longer gonna go out to anybody, right? Because that was our
No, ma'am, I
mistake.
actually revised that form.
Okay,
We
that was-
found several issues with it, mostly that it was referring back to a rule that was in place in 1987. We've updated it. We've added places on there for signatures for the person that prepares it, the person that reviews it, and if it's over a certain dollar amount, the superintendent's gonna have to sign off on it.
okay, because she showed me a copy of it and it was very confusing. I mean, it looked like we weren't paying what we owed her.
Right, we don't like it, we didn't like it.
Right, so I just want the public to know and everybody that's listening to know that it is our intention to pay every employee what we owe them.
That's right.
And no one that works for this district is trying to short anybody anything that we owe them. None of us want to do that. And I just thank you, Carol, for the explanation. And if there are any more questions, I'm gonna refer them to you, okay?
Yes, ma'am, and when we get ready to do a workshop on these policies and the budgets and stuff, we'll go over these forms with you as a board so that you see them and you understand what we're doing.
Yeah, because these new forms actually cite the specific board policies that you guys have voted on and approved.
Right.
So that way if, an employee that resigns or whatever the case may be, they can go back and reference those exact policies and see what it says.
Right, and
But
those
it's not just
are
because-
pretty old. They've been in place for quite some time.
I think the newest one was 2015. That's
I
why,
wasn't here.
Carol and I mentioned when we do the budget workshops, we would like to look at some of the policies and stuff too that were discussed.
But the vacation pay, that's been there for a very long time, the cap
Well,
on the vacation pay.
those policies are usually driven by state statute. And that statute hasn't changed since like 2002. So the fact that your policy hasn't changed is fine. There's a review that's done every year by the company that does those policies. And anything that has changed, they bring to the attention of the superintendent and the board attorney. So that if you need to revise the policies, you understand what those are for.
Well,
So vacation is paid 100% because you earned that time. What we were talking about was the sick, correct? That's what you're referencing, Crystal?
Correct, the sick leave changed. Years ago, there was a point where you could get all of it. In 1987, that changed to the maximum was 50% plus a limit of so many days.
And that's,
And that's what the form was incorrect about.
and that state statute, I thought that was done locally.
It was, your policy mirrors state statute exactly.
But it came, okay.
So you're saying she's not entitled to that 74,500 at a step 0 for administrators? Retro back to July 1?
Okay, time out, we're talking about two different things.
You're right, exactly.
One, we're talking about pay retroactive. The other, we're talking about leave payouts.
Right. Her first question was the retroactive pay, going back to the approval in August for administrators to be step 0, 74.5, I believe it was. And then in November.
Those who had to be an active employee at the date the payout, the retro payout is made, it has not been paid yet.
Also, because she left on 1/27, she's not gonna get what she's technically due from July 1st.
Well, nobody has
Correct.
gotten it yet.
Nobody's getting it.
Right, nobody has gotten that.
But what about she's on there to get the $1,000 paid to her from the state thing or whatever, and she's not active?
Well, that I
now.
know she is getting.
I mean, her name's on there to get.
Okay, excuse me, I think these are questions, this needs to be a one-on-one with the finance director maybe, not,
Yes. Not
I
us.
mean,
Yes.
we're not privy to all
Yes,
these,
ma'am, at any time.
we're not privy to all these details, am I
Yeah,
incorrect?
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think she needs to contact the finance director.
And Carol.
Yeah, Carol.
Yeah.
Carol, myself.
Carol and
Yeah.
Dawn.
And the pose, whoever's coming in needs to get this straight. Maybe all of y'all get together
Yes.
and work this out.
I agree. And then, I don't know if Mr. McKinley wants to chime in
I think he should.
Do you wanna chime in
On what subject, I'm sorry? Federal payment, okay? You got it.
Well, they're discussing a particular salary and issues with back pay, et cetera, and I suggested they don't need to air that here, they need to meet with the finance
Oh,
director.
absolutely. Oh, I wholeheartedly support the chairman on that. By all means, yes, that needs to be done with people who have to make those details.
Okay, and they'll make themselves available to her,
at any time?
thank you,
Absolutely.
all right.
Okay, we got all that straight.
Okay, Crystal, do you have anything else?
That was it.
Anybody else have any, board member comments?
Yes, I do. I'd like to thank everybody that I went to see on. One day I came up here and stopped everybody for working. I didn't tell you I was coming, and they didn't care. So anyway, I'd like to thank all of you for listening to me, and some of them I argued at, and I normally do, but I thank you for welcoming me, and I'll be back to see you every now and then.
Anybody else?
I want to ask again about the strategic plan. We really need to get that finalized. We're gonna be working on the budget very soon, I think. And that strategic plan should guide our budget process.
Amen.
And if we don't have a strategic plan, how do we know how to budget our money?
And it should be, I think it's going to go to Corey final on Friday. I just had to change some pictures and make them more reflective of our entire community and add a paragraph about Glades County District, and we were done. It's complete.
And is it gonna come to us for approval then?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
What
I'd
if,
like to see it too.
So like if you get it and you're like, I'm not really happy with this, what we can go back in and
Have some input?
make change. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I might have some input.
So at the next meeting, will that be ready, you think?
Yes.
Or- Okay,
Yep.
good.
I can do it. I can
Or
do
at
it.
any time if you want to send it to us so we can
Okay.
see it ahead of time, that'd be great.
Cause
I can send you what we have right now tonight.
That'd be great.
Like I said, there's pictures that we're moving, but other than that, and you can see on there, how it's, they've already sent me the copy of where we are as far as, this is, if it went to print today, this is what it would look like.
Okay.
So I think I mentioned to you all, there's like a yellow font that looks kind of funny, but just ignore that because that's been fixed.
Okay.
That was in the,
There was a couple of things
yeah.
like that, yeah.
So our next meeting is March 10th. We'll hopefully have it by then. for
Absolutely.
approval.
We don't have another meeting this month?
No,
No.
Okay. Oh,
praise God.
anybody else have any comments from the board? 5-year work plan, item 10.1.
Just in case, I brought a long copy along, just you wanna see the statute that comes from House Bill 7030, talking about Coach Aaron Price Guardian Program, so you kind of have an idea of what's included in that. And it is, this majority of the board approves that program to happen, then the sheriff's supposed to make that happen. There's a lot into that too.
How'd you get that so quick?
Huh? I was
Did
ready.
you just print this?
No, I haven't.
I called him.
Oh, okay, I was
Just in
like,
case, yeah.
My
Anyone
goodness.
who's actually allowed to get into that program, they have to go through 144 hours of gun training. They have to pass a psychological evaluation, they have to be drug tested, and they have to continue the training as they go along, so there's a lot to that. Okay, 5-year work plan. I came to you about the 5-year work plan this exact time last year, just to tell you about what's going on. I'd been in place for 4 weeks, so kind of, well, I'm not sure if I still know what's all going on, but I have a much better handle on things. What I did is I sent you the 5-year work plan itself, and then I also just passed out a copy of some of the projects that we have, current projects, upcoming projects, future projects. Current projects, we're still working on more access points, cameras. We just completed more roof repair at the elementary school. Hopefully that takes care of it. Evidently, when they put the new air conditioning systems in, they pulled out the old air conditioners, left a big hole, put in the new ones, and then they patched where that hole was. But the problem is, when the roofer came in, I guess they tried to patch over what's an aluminum type topping that's actually on the roof itself, and the stuff they put on there doesn't adhere to that very well or for very long. And so we had a roofer come in, and they actually peeled some of that back, and when they did, they found it was wet underneath there. So hopefully now they patched it. So cross your fingers. Hopefully we can get through the next 3 to 5 years until we get a new school. So we're working on security card readers, security door access. In fact, I know that we have fobs that have been ordered or in place so that the teachers and staff members will be able to swipe into the school without having to leave the door open during the morning time for people to come in and out, or they can come on the weekends if they want to. Great for coaches too, who may not be employees of the school. They're coming in for practices on Saturdays. They need a way to get in. Instead of giving them a key to every door in the whole school, we give them access to what they need. Okay. We're looking at floor machines. Floor machines would be like for both carpet and for tile floors. That'd be for all schools. And our new bus is coming in. Upcoming events, upcoming projects, we want to look at an ag covered area, an ice machine for athletics. We already did the electrical portables, more playground mulch, track repair. Track repair is on our list right now, and what I'd like to do is just kind of let you know that we are going to be putting out a request for proposal for the track replacement. I'll give you a copy of the RFP, it's called. The track currently is getting in tough condition. There is cracking all over. We are growing some grass on the track. It's been a long time, and I think we are due, personally. But
We still can't use track wheels though, that regional, because it's not wide enough to put that extra laps.
And then future projects, we have air conditioning units, a new lawnmower down the road, playground equipment replacements, restroom renovations, possibly looking at roof at the district office, seal coating parking lots, looking at getting another maintenance truck down the line, new classroom wing at Westglades, we'd love to do that.
Yes.
Have new elementary school and repair outside handlers. I also want to give you an update because I had to include these because these weren't necessarily on my list, but this is also a request for proposal for architectural engineering services, just so you can kind of see that. This is already in the Okeechobee News, and it's already posted on our website. What we have to do is we have to do a design phase for our new school, and really there's a timeline in order to get all that done. We actually have to have everything in place by August, because in August we go up to Tallahassee and we go try and convince the real bigwigs that we really do need a new school. And just so you know, here's kind of a timeline that we've come up with. We tried to include times when the board would be meeting so that we can do everything in there.
Mr. Aggressive, can you address why we are moving so quickly? Can you address that?
So, the proposal, the request for proposal will run for 4 weeks, and then we'll start getting committees together, have an opportunity for some of these companies to come before you and so they can kind of tell you all about themselves. We really need to have an initial design phase completed by June 1st, because it's actually due to the state at that time. And what happens, that way they have time to take a look at the design, so when we get up there in August, they kind of have an idea of what we're looking at. So really, we're in a tight time frame, but we're right on track to where we need to go. Okay. So just want to kind of give you that information, so because I know you're going to ask me about where we are with the new school, and so you've been very diligent on keeping up with that. I appreciate that. Keeps me in check.
When the architectural firms respond to your request for proposals,
yes,
then will they come to us and make presentations?
What they'll do is they'll submit bids to us, and as a committee, we'll have a 5-person committee that will take a look at those bids and really start picking out the top ones, and then have them talk to you guys, if you would like for that to happen.
That's how it happened before, and I wanted to be sure that we're contacting the people who did the work at the, well, actually.
We can't contact anybody.
Yeah, we can't
They
really
have to
advertise.
respond.
Well, I want to be sure that they know that it's coming up, though, is what
Well,
I'm saying.
I think a lot of them know, because I've already received
Okay.
calls from at least 4 different companies.
Because
to
they
see if
were
there's any-
great with all of what the ideas that saved us so much money.
Right.
So it's in the Okeechobee News is where
It is in the Okeechobee News.
I mean, is
yeah.
that the only place it is?
It's also on the website. Those are the
Okay.
2 places we have to
Okay.
put it. And the companies, they kind of came out of the blue. They find that stuff.
Yeah, they do.
I'm sure they will. So, actually, I could have done the 5-year work plan earlier, but when I talked to the Department of Education, I told them we were kind of waiting on our 5-year work plan and how we're going to budget things based upon what may happen with the new school. And of course, back in December, we were actually deemed critical need. And since we were deemed critical need, we know that when we build
There you go.
this new school, we know that once it's built, 1.5% or 1.5% of our capital outlay money goes back to the state. So we're looking at about 1/4 of the money that we would usually have to do replacements on flooring or HVAC or buying a new bus, those kinds of things. And so we waited until that happened, and then I went ahead and did a budget. The 5-year plan is just a budget to look ahead. It's kind of like what you may sit down with your husband or your wife and start thinking, okay, I'd really like to have a new she shed, and we're gonna have to save a little money, but I think 2 years down the line we'll have that money in place so that we can do that. Because I know right now we got to have your man shed out there. So,
There you go.
But that's exactly how this goes. It's a plan that you put in place, but we know that things come up. Sometimes you have to change those plans, because it's hard to look 5 years down the line and say, this is what we're gonna do here, this is what we're gonna do there. Even this last year, we've had money set aside for HVAC replacement, which is air conditioning replacement, mostly at Westglades, because we know that the school is, 15 years old now? About that? 13, 15? More than that, maybe 17.
It's more than
17 years. It's getting old. And we've already been replacing air conditioning units there. We know the air conditioning units there are about $4,000 to $5,000 a piece, and there's about 80 of them. Fortunately, we have ESSER 3 money, and we're hoping within the ESSER 3 money, I already know it's in the ESSER 3 grant, we're hoping when it gets approved that it'll put money in our bank account in order to do that air conditioning replacement through that money, so it doesn't come out of our capital outlay. So then we can use our capital outlay for some of these other things like a new track. So there are some things that are in that grant that go towards capital outlay funding. That means for facilities, and that would be like those floor machines. Those are in there as well. We have 2 buses in that ESSER 2 grant, so that we can buy some new buses. We also have 3 buses. Oh, we have 3 vans that we actually put in there as well. The vans we're looking at using for like the gap time, the after-school tutorial, so that we had accessibility or better accessibility to transport students that maybe like in Buckhead Ridge from the elementary school, where if you just had 1 or 2 kids, they might say, well, it's not very cost effective to drive a bus all the way, but if we had a van, we could do that, and finding bus drivers is very difficult as well, but if you have a van, you can get someone certified who's a teacher or non-instructional employee who can actually drive that van. So that's some of the reasons we put those things in that.
Are the vans approved for transporting students?
They are.
I think at one time there was an issue with that.
It depends on the number of students. If it's over, I think it's 10.
I think it's 9.
9?
I think it's 9.
9 passenger van? Yes, ma'am. So, and as far as, I know that there are other questions of the school, we're still in the design phase of where we want to put the school. And we have a lot of thoughts on what the best place is. I don't think we've really quite decided. The people from special facilities from DOE are going to be down tomorrow. In fact, Violet Brown, who you met one night, she's going to be here, and one of her workers, too, Mark Jeter, who works on the 5-year plan, and also on the facilities thing that we do for DOE. He's going to be down here too, and they're going to start looking to see how we can pull the most money out so we can get the most bang for our buck. I'm kind of surprised on the amount of property that the school board actually owns. We have found that we own actually the 4 lots just to the west of us, which include the transportation, where the transportation department is, the lot behind it, the Chalanitka, I think is where they do all the fairground, and then behind that as well. There are 6 lots that are owned that have all these baseball fields on them. Those are actually owned by the district. We're also looking at north of the elementary school. We can always build on the baseball field. We may even look at purchasing the property that's to the east of that, where the old grocery store used to be, in order to make that.
Did they come down on their price?
We don't know that yet. And we're also looking to see if there's any other options out there. But we want to make sure that the choice we make is the best choice. It's going to be the best for our kids and our community. We're looking at an investment in not only our grandchildren's future, but our great-grandchildren, because you're talking, this school's going to be here for another 50 years. So it's going to be very important that we do it and do it right. Dr. Barfield and I have had some conversation about, how we should really move forward with some of these things. My thoughts have always been that, if we have the property, then let's save the money, and put the money into the school, make the school better. someone said, well, let's build in the same property where we're at, well, there's actually 3 negatives to that. Number one is, if you choose to do that, then you're gonna have to build a portable city, and that money that you pay for those portables, for rental on those portables for 3 years while it's being built, all comes out of that special facilities funding, so that's less of a school that you're going to get down the line. I really don't want to think about how that's going to interrupt the instruction of students going into this portable city, and also the teachers just having to move all their stuff, you know, into this new thing. Also space. Where we are right now, it's very limited in space. I'm an old PE teacher. I'm an old elementary PE teacher. I don't know if you knew that. I'm an old coach. That's why I've got little spots on my head where they had. I went to the dermatologist, and they had to zap me several times because I was out in the sun too much. But when I look at the PE classes, there's not a whole lot of room for those kids to run out there. And so for me, I think it's important that we have room for kids to be able to go out and play. But that's just my thoughts. But as a committee, we'll come to.
We'll work on this.
Those are, I appreciate you sharing that with us. The question I have about the existing facility, I know when we built the high school, we kept some buildings, several buildings that were in good shape.
Yes.
If we relocate totally, then, you know, I'm thinking there's a couple of buildings over there that maybe are pretty new.
Well, you're absolutely correct, and I haven't really explained that. Really, the 2 buildings are there, the Ritchie building, which is where the gym
and then
is,
that
right?
front classroom
And then there's the
building.
front classrooms. The original plan for when we build is to actually renovate that front building on the east side and turn it into administrative offices, because by doing that, we're able to actually get more money from the state in order to redo that building. Also, when we're taking out these portables count in our FTE to our student stations. And so when we take those out, because they're going to come out anyway, then we'll have a place for the people who are in those buildings right now to go to. As far as the Ritchie building, we're going to have that taken a second look at. When the people came to decide whether we were in need of a school, many of them were facilities directors that came, plus people from the state. They noticed a lot of cracking on the outside of that building, and they really want someone to come in and take a look at that building, because it may be deemed not able to bring it to where it needs to be. If you ever walk by there and you look at the brick, the brick has cracks all throughout.
That's the Ritchie building, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
And it leaks. It leaks.
So-
We were in there.
Yeah.
It leaks real bad.
But I'm glad you asked that question, because yes, we are planning on definitely saving the building on the far east side.
What about dollars? I mean, when those people came down, did they give you any kind of estimate of how much we'll get? Is that based on our student numbers?
Yes.
And do you have any
Student
any
stations.
idea what it's gonna
I'll have a better idea the next meeting we have, because that's
Okay.
one of the reasons they're coming tomorrow.
Okay,
You know, right now, they have a figure, I think right around 20 million, and we're trying to find ways to get more money. That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna try and help us, and they're on our team. They're not trying to say, well, we don't wanna give you any money. They wanna try and get as much money as they can for us.
Good. We gonna need it.
Okay? Any other
Okay.
questions?
thank you.
Any
Good
questions
job.
on a 5-year plan?
No,
Looks
No?
good.
with
we're
that?
doing good.
All right. The next thing is impact aid grant, and really the impact aid grant is really a federal grant that's designed to give local school districts revenue from property tax that they would probably not be able to get revenue from. It was put into place for school districts that have like a military base or a Native American reservation on there, because the people who live on those installations, military installations or reservations, they don't pay taxes on their houses, because it's actually federal land. It's not, they don't actually own the land. And so what we do is we go and we work with the Seminole Tribe of Florida. In fact, I went over and I worked with Michelle Thomas and Amanda Osceola, who's now the education person. And we went through every single tribal student, or actually, it's any student who lives on the reservation who goes to a school in Glades County, we get credit for. So it's not just tribal kids, because there are a lot of kids who are stepchildren of tribal members who
Okay,
live
so
on the
say
reservation.
that again.
Yes, it's any students who go to school in Glades County who live on the reservation. Who live in a
Okay.
house on the
Oh,
reservation.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was some confusion about exactly, is it just tribal kids or not tribal kids? But I've talked to the people at the federal department, and they said, no, it's any kids who live on the reservation. So we comb through all the kids that go to Pimienta and Mahaga, and because there are some kids who are tribal, but they live in Okeechobee, and they get bused in. But some of them, they may have an address in Okeechobee, but after talking to Amanda and Michelle, they're actually living in the house on the reservation. They go to Okeechobee on the weekend or something like that. Some of them have two houses. They have a townhouse and they have a res house, I guess. But and also we went through the students who are currently going to our schools in Moorhaven Middle High School specifically. I didn't see any at the elementary, to see if there were any tribal students who were actually living on the res, or if there were any stepchildren, because those are included as well. And so we came up with a figure. Last year, we were through the Impact Aid Grant, we received $556,441, which is a big chunk of change, especially when last year we budgeted $250,000 for that. So that was a lot of extra money. So far, we've received $309,068 because $271,000 been prorated for right now. They have to have their budgets in place. I guess federal government's running low on money, but we're supposed to get the other 50%. We're supposed to get that other $271,000 by the end of the year. So, and I think you have a copy of the Impact Aid grant, and I have one here too. And then also included in this packet, I put the policies and the procedures that are in place in order to receive the Impact Aid grant. Some of it talks about communication with the tribal members and the leaders to make sure that we are keeping them informed on all the things that are going on in our schools and the opportunities that they have. In fact, we have a very good working relationship with the tribe. We know a few people out there, and I think that they reach out to us if they have a need, and we reach out to them if they have a need as well. You know, we've actually been out there and met a couple times with Mr. Howard, who's the on the tribal council. He is the tribal representative. He's a representative out there. And in discussion with him, last discussion with the Impact Aid grant, what I did is I actually brought a list. I gave him the policies and procedures. We went over that with him, and then also went over. I gave him the student list of students who are being counted towards the Impact Aid grant. In discussion with him, we decided together that the Seminole Tribe of Florida and the Glades County School District have a very positive working relationship. And what he said is that he actually signed a document saying that they're going to waive the Impact Aid policies and procedures for this year. They know that it's very difficult for us to meet with parents and to meet with students of tribal members, especially right now. They're still very strict on their COVID restrictions. They're even at the charter school, they're still wearing masks. I believe they were eating in the cafeteria finally in December. You might know about this. So in December, they finally went back to the cafeteria, but they were spaced 6 feet apart. I think they had another scare in January, and they went back to only eating in their classroom. They were being very, very careful out there. And even when you see like Tracy Downing, if she comes to a meeting, because many times she doesn't come to meetings here. Tracy Downing is the principal at the charter school. She's always wearing a mask. In fact, you may have seen pictures when Michelle Thomas was School-Related Employee of the Year. When I went out there to give her flowers, when we took a picture, she had her mask on. She was 6 feet in front of me, and I was 6 feet behind her with a mask on, just smiling. My eyes are smiling, I guess.
Yeah, on
Anyway.
and off campus
Yeah.
with the tribe, you have to still follow the old rules. They even still follow the original 14-day rule.
Yeah.
Still.
Yep.
But just want to let you know about the Impact Aid Grant. In fact, I'm supposed to report that to you every year. Last year was an interesting year because of COVID. I didn't really have to report too much because what they said is we're just going to do over. Whatever we did last year, we're going to do this year because we know that kids are all over the place and some are in school and some aren't in school, and so they gave us the same numbers and the same funding as they did the previous year. So.
And did we have to pay them that same percentage that we always have to do, even though they weren't in school last year? In class, they didn't have busing, they didn't have any of that.
Oh yeah, they still get.
But they still got that full amount.
Right.
Because a lot of their kids were here. That's why I'm asking.
Well, they were. Well, they still were in school because they were all in virtual school.
Okay.
Yeah, so they
I know
they
that.
were still kind
My
of.
kitchen
Oh yeah, you
table.
know that. Yeah.
My kitchen table.
Yeah, you absolutely.
Do you know what we budgeted this year off the top of your head?
300,000, I believe. Yeah, 300,000.
Was it? Okay. That's good news.
All right. Any questions?
Thank you very
Not
much
at the
for
moment.
your
Yes,
work.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent's report?
Okay, I just have a couple of things, just to address some of the things that you all as board members brought up. The Contentment Foundation, are you gonna contact, Heck, or did you want me to do it? I was unclear about that.
If you don't mind,
I
that'd be
can do it.
great.
And then what I'll have her do is to do an email to all board members, if
That'd be
that would
great.
make you all,
Yeah.
okay.
Just so that we'll have talking points when we're asked.
Okay.
Make us happy.
Yes, there you go. The Guardian program, I mean, as far as my thoughts on that, I just think we need to get Sheriff Harden in here, so I'll contact Sheriff Harden and see if he will come in at the next board meeting and do a presentation. I do know that in other districts, it's a very debatable topic, and I know there's very pros and cons to it, and I think people are very, they have a side. And so I just want to make sure that we're doing due diligence and getting all sides, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I want to just briefly and discreetly talk about the event that the event that happened at Moorhaven Middle High School with the young man that brought the gun to campus. I'd like to publicly thank Sheriff Harden, who did an outstanding job, and his staff. It was extremely smooth. They were doing a routine drug search. We were not notified that there was a gun. No, of course we didn't know there was a gun. It was a find. Everyone was on lockdown. It was handled extremely professional, and kudos to his department and also the staff at the Moorhaven Middle High School. The teachers did a great job. When you go through I was in bed sick with COVID. So I was trying my best to keep up with everything going on in the phone. I actually was told about it via text message before I even heard about it from the school. That's the society we're in, because kids know what's going on quickly and they're texting their parents. So I think we did a great job trying to. We needed to wait for an all clear from the sheriff's department to before we notified the parents, and as soon as we did, we tried to get on that as quickly as possible. But in those situations, we just are thankful that our day ended the way it did, because it could have ended a lot worse. And so I just think that you learn things, and there's things that in the future we can definitely do better. I don't think anyone is an expert at that, but our blessing is that it ended the way that it did. The couple of things I've been contacted about by parents, and I don't know if any of you have been contacted about the lot behind the old jail, the old Challenger grounds. We use it as a soccer field, but the condition of the field is so poor. There is I know when I was principal, when Ms. Perlman was principal, they did a lot of bonfires there, and so they took the boards sometimes, and they had nails in them. We had a lot of students getting hurt, getting stuff in their shoes, their feet. There's a lot of holes, so it's really not in a good condition, and I had a couple of people reach out to me about it, and so it's something I'm working on looking into. I really don't know what the process to get it cleaned up is. I don't know if we need to go in there and disc it up and then start over. I don't know where we are. So if you do hear about that from some parents, that is the situation, but I am looking into it. I spoke with Doran at iTech. I called to ask a couple of questions about the graduation rate as we're looking into that. I will be bringing a policy to you at the next board meeting, recommending that if a student is not on track for graduation, that they are not allowed to attend iTech or FSW. And I'll go into that more, but I talked to Doran, and if the number one thing is a high school diploma, and even though students have, let's say they get an HVAC certificate, but if they do not have a high school diploma, many companies will not hire them. So I think I'm going to invite Doran to come also and speak on that, and get FSW to come as well to give you a different perspective as to what happens if a student does not graduate with their high school diploma. And it's now we're down to only one student in that situation currently. So through FSW, but where it doesn't happen again, we just want to make sure we have something in place. So I'm working on that. When the board, and Carol, I don't know if you could speak to this. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
When the board approved the contract or for the grants, the position for truancy was in there. Once the board approved that contract, doesn't that make that position approved?
Normally, and again, my background with the district is real fresh. That's the way I've always seen it handled. I would like, obviously, as we go through your policies, that we clarify so that your board understands that if there's a position like that in a grant, they have approved it, but only for the term of the grant.
And I personally think it's better that our board knows what we're spending the grants on. I think you all want to know, and that's why Gary did the presentation. He did a great job presenting that. But I mean, like I said, I was under the, I guess maybe it was wrong, but I thought that once he got up and presented that, that's why when we put this on here, I didn't put it as approval for that position. So, and I agree, because I know in this past year, that's probably been one of the, it's very confusing, because we do go from, okay, well, here is to recommendation to hire so-and-so, what do we hire them for? And so sometimes it does, and so I think that's something I can do a better job if it is on my strategic plan is first, number one. I can tell you that is number one on my list. Number two is getting these job descriptions, because it does all, when we get ready to go into budget, it is, if we don't have those job descriptions, it just muddies the water. So I am working on it. And then I think that was about it. Oh, I thought I was going to get to come tonight and celebrate a first in Glades County, but I missed it by one. Just to give you an update where we are with our teachers, West Glades is one employee from having 100% certified in field. So they're one employee. But next board meeting will be, hopefully, get busy. And they are needing a Spanish teacher.
How are we doing?
So Moorhaven, I'll go to Moorhaven High School. So we have, and I'll go down the list. This is updated as of today. I got this from all of the secretaries. We have Mr. Brown. He has a 4-year degree. He is he has applied for a certificate of eligibility. So he will be, right now he's showing as, I believe, a sub, but he is awaiting his certification and he will be certified. He has a 4-year degree. We have,
so what percentage will that make the high school?
well, wait a minute, I'll go through it. I'll check. So then we have Miss Rouse, who is also a sub in a classroom. She has a master's degree in education, but she took a different route in her career, and her certificate ran out. So now she has contested her results, and so we're awaiting on that. As soon as she gets her test results back, let's just go negative and say she doesn't pass it, she can retake the test, but she does have a master's, so she is a sub as well. Ms. Luter is a substitute and is working on her degree. Christina Smith is not certified. She has applied for her statement of eligibility as well. So she was in PE and she was moved to civics, I believe, but she is awaiting on her statement of eligibility. So that's just a matter, and I had Miss Lee check on these today, and they all have applied. Julianne Allman, which is a paraprofessional, we are waiting on her. She has not passed her para, and that was the one we talked about last time. She has until February of the 22nd of February to pass her para test. And then we had bookkeeper interviews at the high school. Miss Dawn, and who all was on that committee?
It was Dr. Daly, myself, and Miss Lee.
And they were interviewing, and a girl came in, and she was really great, and they loved her, and she said, but her passion wasn't really bookkeeping, and they were like, well, why are you here? She's like, because I really want to be a teacher. Well, she's a certified teacher. So
they took her.
So she was taken out of that interview really quickly. So currently, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to give you a copy of all this. So then I don't have the percentages.
So we're on like 10, you're 10?
Oh, under that. And then we have also, Dr. Daly has been on a recruiting rampage. And we are going to be in April. We will have. I would love to be able to say to you at our April meeting we'll be at a full staff. There's some.
We did also hire a bookkeeper.
Yes, they did. At Moorhaven Elementary, they, in pre-K, they do not have, in order to teach pre-K, they do not have to have an elementary certification. So they're good in pre-K. We have Olivia Everett, who is an extended sub, and she does not receive benefits, so she's an extended sub, and her degree will be confirmed. I spoke with her personally today, and she said her degree will be confirmed this summer, and I have asked her to please provide me with a letter that I could provide you that you can see that. We have a vacant first grade position as of today. We have an extended sub in second grade, and we're waiting to see about her statement of eligibility. We have 2 AGTs, Bernice Acosta and Elizabeth Devine, and they both are taking their test to become true certified teachers. And I want to say it once again that AGTs were teachers that were able to come back. They were not, their certificate had not expired, or their temporary had not expired. So we are working with them to get them fully certified. We have a sub, Kellen Cooper, who is in 4th grade math, and he is waiting on his certificate, or waiting on his confirmation as well. And then they had marked 2 more teachers out of field, but they are both in field, and that is it. So we're working. It's not easy. Our principals, our staff at the elementary school and at Moorhaven Middle High School and at West Glades even are working very hard, and they're trying to cover for the teachers or the positions that there's no one in that position. And I know, we have reading coaches and math coaches and MTSS, and I mean, everyone is doing intervention groups. I know at the Moorhaven Elementary School, their intervention groups. Their guidance counselor is doing an intervention group. I know Ms. Humphreys is doing an intervention group. You know, everyone is working extremely hard, and they know the goals. And I'm really excited when I saw the data at Moorhaven Elementary. It's very promising. I mean, there's obviously some areas that we have got to work on, and they know that. But today I went over that the culture is, you know, it's COVID. Everyone's tired. It's not, you know, it's not everyone's doing backflips, but they're trying their very best. Today I went over, they had a Super Bowl cook-off, and that was fun. John Cox won, and Rashandra came in second, so that was a little bit of a heated moment there, but they weren't very, it was really good, and you know, there are a lot of smiles. People are trying really hard.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
We don't believe everything you read on Facebook. We have a great staff. Our school's very dedicated to our kids. Have we had some leave? Absolutely. And we don't want anyone to stay that doesn't want to be there. Because our focus is on our kids and getting them where they need to be. And if those people don't want to be there, we don't want them there. So we're a good staff, and I think there's a lot of negativity on Facebook. I have to go home every night and try really hard not to comment on things, but I don't. But you know, and if you want to stop in, see how hard we're working, how hard everyone is working.
And it's nationwide.
Yeah, it is. You know,
They're calling it the Great Resignation.
District.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
I was at and this is the last thing that I'm going to say, is that last week I went to, so I had COVID, then I tested negative, and I went up to St. Pete for the superintendent's leadership conference. It was for 3 days, and you know, you just learn just amazing amounts that when you sit with other superintendents, and we don't just sit with small district superintendents, we also sit with large districts, and you know, we share, like, what are you going through, or what are some things that your challenges are, and it's very when you hear that it's happening in every district, it's, you know, it's very it's kind of not reassuring, because we're all in that boat, but it's difficult because public education is under a lot of fire right now, and everybody just wants what's best for kids, guys, and I don't think anybody doesn't want that. And I think one of my friends that's a superintendent said, you know, what makes it hard for him is, he said, I work and I try my hardest, but then there's, you know, there's always, what could I have done? Could I have done better? And so, and I think that's in everyone in education, but they do call it the Great Resignation. You know, we all were talking about it at our conference of how do we get teachers in. I can tell you that, and I truly believe this, that teachers and administrators will bring teachers, and I'm seeing it. I love it that at the high school, I love what I'm seeing. I love what I'm seeing as far as the teachers that are coming on board. And I just want you to know that I do encourage, I believe what Ms. Humphrey said, go to the schools and walk the schools, and you know, you're going to see some really hard working people. And then one other thing I forgot, and then I'm done. I know we had talked about the food service manager. Mr. Wilson was hired, and you know, I know there was some talk about the board, you know, do we need this, do we not need this? And I'm always like, I'm super sensitive when I go to talk, because I'm like, I know Miss Reese is going to be all over me. I better have my facts right on this. I will tell you that he is in those cafeterias, and he's walking. And I'm not sure what school, if it was Westglades or Moorhaven Elementary, but I guess our district had ordered several years ago about $40,000 worth of stoves or equipment. I don't know what. I was going to get the full story from him, but they've never been set. They just sat there. They weren't plugged in.
Oh, my Lord.
And so he knows the equipment, and so I mean, it was $40,000 that almost pays for his salary that he, you know, so, I mean, we just have to do a better job, and I say we, that's me included in, you know, just making sure that, you know, I got elected because I wanted to do what was best for kids, but also the financial accountability to our voters and to our county is very important to me. And so I appreciate the work that Mr. Gressett's doing on the new school. And, you know, we've had a lot of people call us about, you know, where are you putting it? Where are you putting it? It's, you know, and we appreciate that. We are going to have time for input. We are very landlocked here. And so just you know, it's like I told Mr. Gressett, and him and I both agreed on this. We're not talking about just what's best for our school. It's also what's best for our community, because when you drive through Moorhaven, you're going to see this. So, and with that, that's really, you know, one of the things we talked about at our superintendent meeting was how to handle, you know, superintendent's report. And so they said that I should never play poker with me. So
I'm sorry.
yeah, Ms. Pro, I'm down red as a bee right now. So anyway, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna end it right there. Thank you.
Dr. Barfield,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna address it because you know I was coming.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. They probably did have some things that are there,
Yes, ma'am.
but when I was there, they used them. They have to be cleaned. I give you for instance, when I first went there, I saw them pulling turkeys' breasts, and I asked them, I said, what are y'all doing? And they said, we always pull it. And I thought, why? You know why they was pulling it? They didn't want to clean the slicer after they sliced it. So see, it's there.
Yep.
Okay, and it's that. Now I'm through.
So, yes, ma'am.
I just was wondering, were you gonna introduce, Ms.
Yes, I
Durrance?
was. Miss Durrance, will you please stand up? This is Christy Durrance. She is our new Director of Student Services.
Oh, Lord.
And she is, bless her heart, she got hired on a Monday. I think she came down with COVID on a Tuesday, and she was gone for a while. But she jumped into her role really quickly and is really making a difference already.
Thank you.
Welcome, we're glad to have you.
And that's it.
Are you a Gator?
Yes, ma'am.
We won't hold that against her.
Hey, can the new guy get the smoothies going at West Glades?
Oh, Lord. Before.
I know.
They have to be
About the
everywhere.
smoothie
They have to be everywhere. You can't.
Well,
do it
here's
once.
I will.
Smoothies at West Glades?
They have a machine, I heard.
So here's what I will say. If you read
But I
the
don't think- I don't
news,
know
there
if
is
the
a
state
lot
lets
of
you do them anymore.
food that we're having problems getting food, or you know. But he's got contacts and he's working on all that. So I mean, he's working.
But they
He's
so
been
love.
nonstop in the purchasing department, so.
Not spending. Making sure
Well,
he knows what.
Food service has money, so.
I did meet the football coach last night in Lewiston, and he was so excited, and it just made me feel so good. I was staring at him. I'm like, I think I just shared that man's article on my Facebook page. And so I went out and introduced myself, and he was very, very positive, very excited. It excited me.
He was really excited. And I don't mean to put West Glades out there again, but he came out to West Glades and
He
talked
told
to the
me.
kids. And I want to say he said 60 or 70 kids, and they're like, "How do we?" He said they were so excited, and we have to do a better job. So shame on us for not doing a better job. And I know Doreen had sent an email, like with our softball and all of our cheerleading, all of it. We've got to do a better job of getting those kids to Glades County School. I talked to you about this last time in my comments. I'm going to throw it out there again. I did get a chance because Superintendent Swindle was at my superintendent conference, and I did talk to him about, I wanted to sit down and have a meeting with him concerning our Port LaBelle area and the extreme growth that's going on out there. It's rapid. So I don't really know how, well, I mean, I know we want to get this new school in, but if you just drive and, you know, and he agreed, I mean, they are busting at the seams as well. So, I know he's trying to come up with a plan, and so we're gonna make time in our schedules and get together and talk about it. So, also the football coach went out, he's trying to make the relationships with the kids. He had a meeting out at Washington Park, and also I believe he's going or has gone to Pamietta as well. So, the schedule is set for next year, and which is awesome. We're really excited about that. One of the games is gonna be in Georgia, and they're actually paying us to come up and play them. And so when they go up, it's in South Georgia.
They're gonna kick our butts.
Yeah, but we're gonna get paid to get our butt kicked. But
At least we get paid what
that's
they
right.
do.
That's right.
We're gonna go up, and he's used his connections with the University of Florida, and our kids are gonna get to go talk to the, go and get to see Florida Field. And for many of our kids, they haven't had that opportunity.
What
So-
a great opportunity for those.
It'd be better if they went through Tallahassee, but we won't go there. But
Why not?
hey, that's right. But anyway, so the kids are very excited, and I can tell you, my family is originally from Pahokee, and I was over this past about a month ago or so before I got COVID, and I had a young man come up to me and he said, "Is it true that Coach Garrett's coming to Moorhaven?" And I said, "It is." "Oh, I'm coming to Moorhaven." I'm like, "Oh, I can't talk to you. I don't want to go there." That's, I'll be.
I do know some of the kids that left us and went to Clewiston have now left Clewiston
And come
to
back.
come back here.
Yeah.
So, anyway, thank you very much.
Is that it?
That's it.
I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.